Okay, I'd like to introduce Evan, AJ6OR. Uh, Evan is very involved in radio direction finding, and he's also very successful at radio direction finding to the point where people that are competing against Evan they want to know what he's doing and what he's doing right. So, remarkably, Evan agreed that he will come on here and share his secrets with us, his techniques with us. So, Evan, the mic is yours, the video is yours. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Graydon. I'm going to be discussing three fox hunts that I have been to in the last several months. One was out at Granite Bay Shopping Mall, one at Roseville, Pichet Park, and the other one's at downtown Folsom. And I'll just discuss basically from start to finish on each fox hunt, how things went from start to finish. So that way it'll give you an idea of what goes on in a fox hunt. Okay. So anyhow, Granite Bay is the first one that I went to. And that was actually a low power fox hunt, which made it easier to close in on. Higher power foxes, when you get close to them, it takes a little more detail to close in on those because you have to keep reducing the signal coming into your portable radio. Okay. But this particular one was a low power fox, which made it pretty easy to find. And I started, first of all, by taking a fox signal reading from my car across the street from a shopping mall using my 3-element Yagi portable radio. As I approached the entrance of the mall, I needed to attenuate the full quieting fox signal by pulling up slightly on my portable radio's antenna, just enough to disconnect the center pin of my antenna from the B&C connector. And this enabled me to hear the fox transmitter along with some well-needed noise. And so basically all I'm really doing there is I'm taking my portable radio and I'm just lifting up the B&C connector like that, just enough to where the two pins inside separate. Okay, and there's just a little bit of distributed capacitance between those 2 points, and that will let some signal in. And as I get closer to the fox and the signal becomes stronger, if I need more attenuation, I can still move it up just a little bit more, and it'll still give me more attenuation, so I can still drive around in my car and search for a stronger signal. When I get close enough, hopefully, I can just go like that, and then I can copy the fox with no antenna. And by the time you get to that point, you're probably sitting under the fox, especially if it's a low power fox. And the same thing can be done also. Just recently I found out, and this is a RD5R radio. This is a Baofeng radio, and this one uses the SMA fittings. And I just discovered in playing with these just recently that if you unscrew the antenna on the SMA radios, at least this one, the pin also, just like on this radio, will separate from the actual connection that's inside there. So you can also use that to help reduce signal strength in order to help you find the fox. Anyhow, as I drove through the parking lot to find the strongest signal location, I was finally able to completely remove the antenna and track the fox, which is hanging from a tree branch. Then we had the fox hunt out at Roseville at Pichet Park. This was quite a challenging fox hunt due to receiving a very strong signal in a parking lot, making me think the fox was there, but instead was in the park. To start with, I took my first reading from Douglas Boulevard and used my Yagi antenna and portable radio to find the fox's direction. I drove toward an increased signal using my quarter wave mobile antenna, then switched to my rubber duck antenna for some attenuation. This led me to a large business parking lot, just a few hundred feet south from Pichet Park. I again pulled on the portable's antenna to get further attenuation, which then showed the strongest signal was coming from the northwest corner of the parking lot. I diligently searched that area for a while because I really thought the fox was close to or at that corner. After not finding the fox, in the parking lot, I triangulated the signal to find out more exactly where the fox was. This was done through what's called body blocking the signal. And for those of you that may not be familiar with that, you can take a portable radio like this, and if you don't have an overwhelming signal coming into your radio, you can take your radio and you can just put it right up to your chest. Okay, and once you have your radio right up to your chest, you can rotate around 360 degrees while you're listening to the signal, and you should hear the signal drop for just a little bit while you're going through your rotation. Okay, then you kind of go back to get to that spot right where the null is coming in. Okay, and the fox is directly behind you in a situation like that. That's what body blocking does, is it blocks that signal so that it's coming from behind. That way your body is in between the radio and the fox, and it's the density of your body that drops the signal down a little bit, and that lets you know that the fox is behind you. I took 2 directional body block readings, one at the corner of the parking lot and the other about 150 feet east along the edge of the lot. The reading I got at the corner pointed north to Pichet Park towards a small grove of trees. The reading I took 150 feet east from the corner pointed differently, north but also slightly west, but still pointed directly to the grove of trees. So basically what you're dealing with is, if you can imagine this on a map, okay, like this. I'm here south, and the first reading goes directly north. Okay, then I move over 150 feet, and now I get a reading that's kind of at an angle like this. Okay, not like this one, but like this one. And then when they come together, that's called your triangulation point, and that's where the fox is located. So by taking 2 readings, I was able to confirm that the fox was not in the parking lot, it was in the park. And that's the good thing about taking 2 readings, is you can get confirmation that what you're looking for is where it is instead of where you might think it might be. It's kind of like using a technique that's better than what you've been doing, so that you can find out more what's going on. So that's how that worked out. That worked out very nicely. So, and after driving to the park, I was able to track down the fox further by attenuating the signal by tuning 5 kilohertz or more off frequency with the portable radio. So I just go to the VFO in VFO mode, and I have it on VFO mode when I'm actually doing the fox hunting. So that way, all you got to do is just change the frequency just a little bit, 5 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, and that cuts down the signal coming into the radio. And that allows me to walk closer to the fox, hearing an increased signal. So it was through that I was able to find that fox. And one thing I want to say is, when you're using techniques like off-frequency operation, that can sometimes throw noise into your squelch circuit, and it can sometimes cause the speaker to start shutting off. And so I always recommend that you use the lowest squelch setting on your portable, and then if you have to, what I usually do is I just unsquelch the radio completely as I get closer to the fox. That way I don't have to be concerned about any squelch chopping that could possibly happen. And that way I don't have to be concerned about losing the signal that I'm trying to so determined to try and locate. And the third fox location is at downtown Folsom. And this is quite a challenging fox hunt due to the noisy music and the number of attendees at a music festival taking place at the same time. The use of Yagis and portables brought most of the fox hunt group close to the fox in downtown Folsom. Many of us gathered at the southeast corner of a building where the signal was strong, but could still not find the fox. I happened to look up and saw some of the group on top of what I thought was the roof of the building, but instead was the top floor of a parking garage. I don't know anything about that area, so I had no idea that building even had a parking garage. After finding the access to the top floor, I tuned my portable off frequency to attenuate the strong signal. I walked north and heard the signal drop, so I turned the opposite direction to increase the signal strength, then found the fox hidden at the top of the parking garage southeast corner. I also learned a lesson that day, and that is it's good for me to look around at the fox group that I'm with because they might give me clues to where I need to be. And that's what happened is I could see, there were people on top and I kind of said, I'd like to find out how to get where they're at. And so that was, you kind of learn things about watching the people that you're with. So anyhow, so far I made mention about discussion of 3 fox hunts where I came in the first place. It includes the use of Yagi beam antennas, attenuation through portable radio antenna pin disconnects, complete antenna disconnects, body blocking, off frequency tuning, triangulation, and use of both BNC and SMA antennas to attenuate with. Those are the techniques that I've used. There are other types of attenuation that can be used, and it includes different lengths of antennas. I just cut this little piece here. It takes next to nothing to build one of these. It's just a little BNC connector, and it's got just a short piece of antenna wire to it. And you can build several of those and make them different lengths. Each length is going to have a different amount of attenuation for you. Okay. And other kinds of attenuators, they've got switchable attenuators, and they're just kind of like a little box like this. And they've got a bunch of switches on the side with a number of decibels on each switch. And you just switch in how much attenuation, how many decibels that you need to attenuate. And another one, this is a fox hunt Yagi. Okay, and this one has an offset attenuator on it. That's a little box right here. And it's got its power switch on there. And it also has, there we go. Also has a little control right here. And that little control does a good job of adjusting a large range of attenuation getting in close to the fox. And that's always been quite the problem, is getting enough attenuation as you get close to the fox, because the signal just gets so strong. So this seems to do a pretty good job of it so far that I've been able to tell. Another technique that can be used for fox hunting is listening to harmonics of the VHF signal that you're receiving from the fox transmitter. And so you can take a UHF portable, or if you have both portables in one, a VHF and UHF portable, you can use the VHF to hunt the fox for a while. And then when you get really close, you can switch over to UHF at exactly 3 times the frequency. So you will be listening to the 3rd harmonic frequency. And that's going to vary from fox hunt transmitter to fox hunt transmitter, probably because certain radios are going to have more harmonic output than others. So, you just got to try it and see if it works. Another thing that I like to keep in mind when I'm using that kind of a technique is when you listen to signals on these radios, they are capable of receiving about 5 kilohertz of FM modulation or deviation. When you listen to a 3rd harmonic frequency that is FM, you're listening to about 15 kilohertz. It's 3 times that wide, because when you multiply a deviation from an FM transmitter, you multiply the deviation as well, the amount of deviation. So now we're going from a transmitter at VHF that can transmit 5 kilohertz of deviation, and you're picking the 3rd harmonic up, and it's 15 kilohertz wide. So the radios are meant to receive at 5, and sometimes it's kind of a, and you're kind of putting in this much signal into a radio that's got that much bandwidth. So again, sometimes you just have to keep your squelch down and unsquelch it to try and get that through, because that sort of thing can sometimes create noise. And cause your squelch to cut the speaker out. So anyhow, just want to make mention that we have a fox hunt coming up. I'm going to be the first time fox tender, so this is going to be an interesting experience for me. I've never done this before. And there's supposed to be an announcement that's going to come out pretty soon for the W6EK page. So it's not up yet, but there are boundaries for the fox hunt. And I'll just read the boundaries for you. The fox, and this is going to be from, fox will be hidden in the following boundary: north of Racetrack Street, south on Highway 9, south on Highway 49 from Luther Road, which is basically Mills, east of Collins Drive, west of Auburn Ravine Road. So this is going to be in South Auburn, and you should be able to hear the fox from Mills Diner with your Yagi antenna horizontal. So that's what's going on. And if interested, you can come to the SFARC Club Breakfast, 7:30 a.m. at Mel's Diner at 1730 Grass Valley Highway. And we start the transmitter at 9:30. We have some briefing at 9 a.m. outside of the restaurant. And then we'll kick the transmitter on and go hunt the fox. So I think
quick comment, Evan, if you don't mind. Just a quick reminder, this month, the breakfast is actually at Wings at the Auburn Airport. So sorry about that, Evan. Venue change, and I changed it on your flyer, so and on the website as well. And heard you mention that. That post on the website will be up momentarily. It was going to replace the meeting notification for tonight. So anyone wanting to see that flyer for Evan as the fox tender, that'll be up shortly.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to be meeting at the airport instead. You say?
That is correct. Yeah, Airport Wings Restaurant will be where the breakfast is. So that'll be the point of departure. Now, whether you can still hear it from there, well, Evan, that's up to you.
Okay, well, if not, I may have to give a little bit of a clue to indicate, if you go here, you'll probably hear it, and then they can just kind of go from there. We might be able to work that out. So I'm glad you told me about that. Okay, so I think that's about it from me. So unless anybody has any questions.
Evan, this is great. And I did see a question come up from Richard N6PIL. And Richard wanted to know, how did you learn all this? How did you learn all these techniques?
Well, I came back. I've been a member many years of the SFARC Club, and I came back about 3 years ago. And a lot of it I learned from here, because we used to do some fox hunting, and we went into things like triangulation, and I've seen things that are used, and I thought, well, I think those are things that might be good for me to use as well. So it's one of those things where I try and keep the tools that I need in my fox hunt toolkit, I guess, for better terms, and just use them when the need arises. One thing I can say is there are techniques that you can use, and you don't have to use just one technique at a time. You can use 2 techniques, which I believe are helpful. It's just like if you want to get a bearing on where the fox is, and you want to do some attenuation with the antenna by pulling the antenna up, that's an attenuation technique there. Then you can still do the body blocking with that at the same time. So it's like you're using 2 techniques at the same time, which is helpful. It helps to move things along. So that's one thing that I can recommend. So,
Evan, did you have a past career that had to do with radio?
Yes.
IDF?
Yes, I used to be a 2-way radio technician years ago. So I'm, it was not only my profession years ago, but it was my hobby as well. So I did.
So Evan, this is Tom in N6H. Did any of the techniques that you learned help you to do a better job of hiding the fox, do you think, for this time?
For for hiding.
Evan, can I speak to that first?
Yeah, you ahead. Sure.
So I'm driving through downtown Auburn 2 weeks ago, and I see a familiar face, and it's Evan. And I'm thinking, Evan doesn't belong in Auburn. Hello, Evan. What are you doing? And Evan kind of stuttered and stammered, and he said, I'm checking out places to put the fox hunt. So I can probably share with you where he is not hiding the fox hunt, the transmitter this time. So I got a big kick out of it, Evan, that just perchance both of us happened to be in Auburn, and you were very befuddled when I asked you what you were doing in Auburn. So there we go, the rest of the story.
Well,
So now I know why Brian has found a number of the foxes in the past.
Oh, yes.
He
Yes,
follows
look
fox
for
hunters.
look for Apple tags on all your belongings.
Yeah, I didn't tell him. I could see the drones that were kind of going behind his truck as he was talking to me. So he's kind of watching. No, just kidding.
So you're saying just follow Evan around and
Yeah,
So, yeah,
we're,
that was it. It just shows how small of a world it is. I mean, here I am from, I come from Sacramento, and I come up here, and and I see Brian, and he's wondering, what am I doing? Well, I mean, how can I just say, well, I'm just walking around, and that's it. But from Sacramento, so I just told him what was going on, and it, I think, worked out for the better, because I was kind of having trouble finalizing how I was going to actually put that fox in that location. So I think this other place is going to be pretty good. So
any other questions for Evan?
Evan, this is Brian, AI6US. So a lot of people I know have just asked casual questions about how to get involved. So, I know that in our meeting beforehand, we usually offer if they want to ride along with somebody, but what is the best way for somebody to get involved? Do you need to spend a lot of money?
to actually, for people to get their own stuff to do this, what you're saying, what you're asking?
Yeah, so if if somebody's going to come out on the 29th and participate, do they need to bring a lot of gear with them?
They really don't. This is portable I have. I mean, I got this for, I think, at this is the ICOM IC B86. I got this from HRO. I think it was something like $130 or something like that. You probably do a Baofeng instead. It'd be cheaper. And you can attenuate with with the antenna, I suppose, or making things up for attenuation. At least it will get somebody used to what they're going to have to deal with when they get out in the field trying to hunt a fox. It would at least teach them the importance of attenuation, because there's only a small range of signal that you can use with these radios for actually hunting foxes, and it's probably somewhere between 0.2 microvolts and maybe 1.5 microvolts thereabouts. And these radios can handle a far larger signal, but it's only that small range that can be effectively used for hunting. And that's why I think it's important for them to know that how important attenuation is in order to be successful in finding the fox, especially when you start getting close up.
W2VX, I've got a comment.
Okay.
So the club does have some handheld radios that can be loaners during the fox hunt. And for anyone who would like to learn how to do this but hasn't actually engaged in a fox hunt before, if you show up at, in this particular case, Wings restaurant that morning, you can generally find somebody who is going to go and ride shotgun with them, and then learn how to do the fox hunt techniques and have a good time doing that. And then the next time you'll be prepared and you can come and participate and hunt on your own.
Yeah, I think that would be good, because they can get their feet wet in it and see if it's something that they want to invest money into and time into it. So I think a ride along situation, invite to come along is good. That way they can see what it's about.
Yeah,
Well,
one other comment, you don't actually have to start at wings. You can start from any location. And since Evan is going to post where the boundaries are, where the Fox will be inside of those boundaries, you can show up inside those boundaries at any time before or after 9:30. The Fox will be turned on at 9:30 and you can start your hunt at that time. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's good. Is we've got some pretty good boundaries here, so I think that seems to me be a good plan.
Well, Evan, I want to thank you for an excellent presentation. The accolades are starting to come in on chat, so you can take a look at those. So, Jeff, we're ready to move on, and thank you again, Evan.